Hey everybody, it's Carol, and I'm going to go over the meal prep document that's also in our group. Where to begin? I love meal prep. When I do meal prep, my eating's on track. I'm not hungry. I've got food I can grab and go, and I always see my weight going down. I mean, like anytime I can just guarantee it's going to start. It'll go down slower because I'm not as focused. Like if I'm on a 3-day reset or refresh, then it drops much faster. But regardless, I love meal prep because it just makes life so much more simple. And you can still be creative with your dinner and have some variety there. So I do love that. Okay, let's take a look. So I start meal prep by what's going on the stove. If and this is kind of like an average week. It's kind of a large meal prep weekend. The weekend after I do something this large is going to be a smaller one. So they kind of rotate and change. It takes a little bit of time to figure out how much food your family is going to eat in a week. So you will over meal prep. You'll have too much food, and that's okay. That's what the freezer's for. I've under meal prepped and run out. That happens too. So it is part of learning and gauging what you need. And the other thing is you start getting really good at using vegetables, not so much fruit, but kind of some fruit. You get better at watching the food and saying, okay, the bell peppers were really good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, okay, Thursday, I can handle it. And then Friday we're sauteing them and we're putting them in a burrito of some kind, a bean burrito or chicken burrito or something like that. So you get really good at kind of repurposing food as it becomes less than optimally fresh, I guess. And maybe I'm super picky, but I just hate throwing food out. We have chickens and goats, so when I throw out food, it always gets consumed by someone on the property, which is handy. But I really have gotten much better at repurposing food as it becomes less of a snack food and more into a soup or into a burrito or something like that. I like to think I'm channeling my grandmother because she could do this really well. I mean, she could like make anything out of whatever was in the refrigerator. She was so good and talented. Okay, so on an average weekend, I'll start a couple of pots of water. I like to boil chicken breasts because typically it's harder to dry them out that way, and I'm not really a good cook. So I'm more of like a really good assembler, and I can make really good shakes. But cooking, I sort of rather eat out. But anyway, boil chicken breasts, so hopefully you won't dry them out. And boil or bake eggs. I haven't baked eggs, but I hear that's quite the rage. And I'll usually do 6. I'll ask my husband if he's going to eat them or not. It's so funny. People go, well, what about your kids? Will they eat it? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, my kids are fine. It's my husband. He's so picky. So, yeah. Ugh, makes me crazy. So I do talk to him as I'm doing this and find out what he might possibly eat during the week. And try to include that in my meal prep. Just this last weekend, he was doing our barbecue. A couple weekends ago, he was doing our barbecue, which we usually barbecue on Sundays. And he actually did the meal prep, and he didn't know because I just prepped way too much for him to barbecue with the idea that I would freeze meals at the end. And so that was really awesome because I didn't have to stand in front of a stove all afternoon. I just prepped everything, threw it in tinfoil, and then he actually did the cooking. So that was a win. All right, back to track here. Boiling a couple of things at the same time. Sometimes I will like make some scrambled eggs and then have those ready to do I call them assembly line burritos. But basically all the ingredients are somewhat similar in these, and so I'll do the cooking and then have a hot cast iron tortilla skillet, and so I'll warm up the tortilla and then throw whatever I'm going to put in it and roll it up and put it on a cookie shape on wax paper. And that is a great way to have very quick, healthy meals. It's funny because once you start doing these yourself, those little $2 burritos in the grocery store, even if they're the Amy's brand, which is kind of like a nice healthy brand somewhat, they're way too salty, and you'll be like, I'd rather have my own, which is great because it's also cheaper. Okay, you could do this the succotash ahead of time and freeze it in single servings. And this all just depends on how much time you want to spend in the kitchen. So you can, you can modify that. If you'd like to cook during the week and you'd rather do this edamame and corn squash on the day that it's on the meal plan, then great. We have karate and I have class, and I'm like, evenings are super busy at our house during the week, Monday through Thursday anyway. Quinoa is always a good one to cook ahead, or you could do brown rice. They're both, I don't want to say they're interchangeable because they're very different. Quinoa has a lot more protein, but they're very similar. I love doing the quinoa ahead of time and just being able to scoop it out and then add some. You can make so many quick meals with quinoa. Okay. Then you could also do steel cut oats. Then this gets into more of like chopping and prepping vegetables and fruit primarily. So I'll do an onion or anything that I think is going to be a base, a celery, anything that's going to be a base for like a soup or something. Or if I see I have half an onion that was cut a couple of days ago, I'll go ahead and chop the rest of it, and I'll either put it in the refrigerator or the freezer. And those are great. I have like cut up celery in the freezer and even cut up carrots, and so I'll take those three, onions, celery, and carrots, and make a little roux real quick out of the, even though they're frozen, and then make a soup on top of that. So this is a nice way to cut down on your chopping when you're trying to get a meal put together quickly. And then here with the kale and greens, this is where I'm starting to get everything ready for my salads and my kids' lunches. And so all of these things and fruit, and depending on what's in season, I just prep them and put them in a container and put them on the table. And so as I'm working, the kids are grazing through the day, which is helpful because then they're eating healthy and they're not starving. So I love that sort of byproduct of this whole process. So I'll make a little bit extra of the bell peppers and cucumbers because I know those ones are going to go fairly quickly on the table, and I still want to have enough for the lunches. And sweet peas too, those are big favorites in our house. So I'll wash the kale and greens, whatever I'm having. This week I had spinach and arugula, which is one of my favorites. It's so yummy. And I'm really lazy. I just buy that box or whatever container. So I just rinse it, and then I divide it into my bowls, and then I throw on seeds and nuts, and I have containers across my counter with all of those already in them, and I just add to whichever containers get low. And I didn't run out and buy like 20 containers and then fill them up with all this fruit, nuts, and nuts and seeds, because that would be really expensive. This took time. I built it up over weeks. So like every grocery trip, I would add some. Oh, I'm going to get some hazelnuts today. Oh, I'm going to get some pine nuts. And those are, oh my gosh, so expensive. And then the next time it's like, oh, I'm going to get some, sunflower seeds and some raw cashews. So over time I created this kind of, I call it the wall of nuts and seeds, but I love it because anytime I want any of them, I have like 10 or 15 different things to choose from, so I love that. So I put that into my greens, and then I pack my fruits and vegetables for my salads and my snacks before my kids do their lunches because they take all the good stuff. So I make sure I get in there and do that early on, because I will always leave them things, but they will not always leave me things. Okay, we do a lot of fruit. We do a lot of berries, blueberries, raspberries, grapes. Grapes are good because they keep on Thursday and Friday lunches, whereas like you can do a raspberry on a Monday lunch, but even a Tuesday lunch can sometimes get iffy. Blueberries are good through like Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, depending how fresh they are when you get them. Strawberries are another one. It's like a Monday, Tuesday lunch. And I love prepping these lunches with my kids because they learn how to pick up a fruit and like see if it's really ripe and how many days it might last. I mean, they're learning all this stuff about fruit and vegetables and food selection that I never learned ever. And so I love that. And then we'll also cut up oranges or different things. I love mandarin oranges because they are usually good for any day of the week, and they're kind of hearty in a lunchbox that gets run around, jostled around. So anyway, you start to figure out what fruit needs to go kind of in the beginning of the week and what's good for later in the week. And carrots and your sugar snap peas, those all last all week. Those are really great. Vegetables are a little bit easier generally speaking, than your fruit. You just have to be more particular about your fruit. All right. And then we have a big fruit bowl on the table that's there all the time. And in fact, I picked up some Bartlett pears this week, and my kids have just been like drooling, standing at the side of the table, like, Mom, can we have a pear yet? Is it ready yet? You know, like, good God, people. You'd think you never get a pear. So anyway, it's kind of funny. All right. And they also have the option for raisins in the little boxes, although that's never really a big sell in my house. Okay, so in this verbiage right here, I just sort of go through a little bit more in depth of how we do it. I have each kid has their lunchbox for Monday, and then they have a bag with their name for Tuesday through Friday. And those bags, when they're filled, go to the refrigerator outside, because we have a refrigerator in the garage, a second refrigerator. And I actually have them use the trays in the bottom. So 2 kids per tray, one set of twins in each of the trays, and they put their bags in there, and I have them put them in order from Tuesday to Friday. I know I sound so OCD, and I pretty much am, but I'm going to have the most organized boys ever. So they put them in their drawer so they know where they're located, and then their lunch goes on the counter, and their dad makes their sandwich in the morning, and so that's kind of our routine. And then when they get back from school, they unpack their lunch and put any leftover food in the refrigerator, and that is their food for snacking on. They're allowed to eat that before dinner. But if they ask me for something else, I tell them, no, go eat what you already packed in your food. I'm not going to waste that food. So it kind of simplifies my whole afternoon after school, because when they're hungry, it's just, well, what's left in your lunch? Eat everything in your lunch first. Okay, now go to the fruit bowl. You can have anything in the fruit bowl. You know, and then if they're still hungry after that, then I'll do something else. But I like having those 2 options that are self-sufficient. You know, they can do that, and it's giving them good eating habits. So when they switch their lunch out, they have an empty bag for whatever food they put in for the next day, and that bag gets folded up and put on the counter. There's a container on the counter, so I just sort of roll those bags up and put them in the counter. And that way, in this container on the counter. And so on Sunday when we do food prep, we bring all of the empty bags out, and we just organize it by kid. And so it's fairly streamlined process, actually. I've been doing this a year and a half, I think, so we kind of work through all the glitches. We also had it where the empty bags went into a tote in the garage. Our house is very, very small. And and then that tote came out on Sunday, and then it was just opened on the kitchen floor. All the empty bags were in there, and they got them out and did it. So that was another way that worked really well. And that tote also had any extra lunch boxes. Okay. My kids also, you're going to laugh about this, my kids also have a tote in the garage with their name on it, and that's where all their shoes are. Not in a closet. Not like a normal house. It's a tote in the garage. Because I get that. Do you know how many shoes 4 boys have? Oh my God. Shoes everywhere, all the time, all over the house. And so now they are not allowed to bring their shoes in the house. They just go straight to the garage, put them in your tote. I know. I'm so warping my children. Okay. And in here I talk about how we work with each one of the kids to pick a fruit, veggie, and a bread and a sweet. And I've actually added more carbohydrates to their lunch this year because they're hungrier on the way home from school. We have a 30-minute drive, and so we're adding more carbohydrates because they just need it. They seem to just need it. But you can go through that. Another trick I do or figured out is that if I have somebody else pack their lunches with them, they work better with a teenage person. So I have a girl down the street who comes and she helps me do all the prep. And it's about 2 hours with 2 of us in the kitchen, and she'll do everything from cutting fruits and vegetables and getting the table sort of ready for the whole lunch assembly, and then she'll work with each kid individually to make each one of their lunches. And while she's doing that, I'm doing more of the cooking on the stove and the meal prepping stuff. And so that's how, on a big day like this, that's how I can get everything done in about 2 hours. And then if it's a lighter day and I'm just by myself, I can do the lunches and then, maybe do a couple of things on the stove without any help, and that'll run 2 to 3 hours. But my weekdays are super fast, like no cooking, almost no cooking at all. So that's the trade-off. Oh my gosh, 15 minutes. Yikes. I have spoken way too long. I hope some of this was useful, and I hope even more some of it was entertaining. I'll see you in the group.